body count lottery rounded out to a solid and sturdy.
Hello. I'm Arif Iqbal, and you're watching WNS News. New details have emerged on the attempted abduction of Hanako.
Hello everyone. Welcome back to my stream. Alright, we got a load along the watch. No. Below the beast. We got the ability to save there. Not bad. Yes, I believe that one. We've finished with lore reading. I mean database reading, but still. You got the idea. Let's check it out. So we got... no, not that. Database. Lots of entries there. Alright, Santo Domingo, let's continue that. Santo Domingo is one of Night City's oldest districts. Luckily, its location meant it avoided the worst damage from the Fourth Corporate War, though the tens of thousands of Night citizens deprived of their homes still built provisional camps and settlements. Today, no trace of them remains. Santo Domingo has instead become an industrial hub with an abundance of enterprises and manufacturing power plants. Corporations are in constant battle over influence in the district. Real estate changes hands, new businesses pop up and old businesses fall. Meanwhile, construction sites are guarded by combat troops guarding corporate property and secrets, though often they serve as law enforcement in cases when a company shuts down and fires all its staff, mostly around Rancho Coronado, raising the risk of riots. Pacifica. Yo, Bjodren, glad to see you here. I'm just reading lore through the Cyberpunk 2077 database, so it's like a short stream tonight. Pacifica. You could say that Pacifica is almost a microcosm of Night City's history. It started with "We're building a paradise" and ended with "Dear God, what a nightmare." On paper it was meant to be the classiest and most iconic district catering to corporate employees. Night City's take on Las Vegas in its heyday. Luxury hotels, entertainment halls, sandy beaches. Sadly, that Pacific only existed in the blueprints drawn up by the architects for fat cat investors. Those same investors pulled out every last penny after the Unification War broke out. Yo bro, welcome to my stream. Here in yet another intercorporate conflict. Pacifica was abandoned by all of the local Haitian community, led by a gang of netrunners called the Voodoo Boys. The city has repeatedly tried and failed to bring the district back into the fold, but it remains isolated with its own rules, language, manufactured goods, illegal in Night City, and an independent net. You could say that Pacifica has blossomed under the Voodoo Boys' leadership, but Poison Oak would be a more suitable metaphor. To anyone who enters, beware. Haywood. Haywood is a district of contradictions. The northern part that borders the city center is modern and well kept, proud of its stunning mega buildings, parks and places that are open to the public, but all you have to is go a few blocks southeast and the scenery starts to change dramatically. This part of Haywood is much poorer and more dangerous. The buildings are smaller and the streets are controlled by the Valentinos and the 6th Street gang. If you know your place in deep and keep your head down, Haywood isn't really so bad. After all, it's where most of Night City sleeps. If you're not a corporal and you score an apartment on the richer part of the district, then you just won the lottery. Otherwise, just be happy you live in Haywood. In Night City, things could always be worse. City Center. If you stand in the middle of Corporal Plaza and observe what's around you, all the breathtaking mega buildings, office blocks, bars, clubs, architectural wonders and dazzling neon signs, it's hard to believe that only a few decades ago that area looked like a smoldering battlefield in the aftermath of the Fourth Corporate War and the nuclear attack on Arasaka Tower. As anyone with a pair of optics can see, City Center was fully rebuilt. surpassing even its former glory with more modern and cutting-edge architecture. It serves one purpose and one purpose only: to flaunt the city's economic power and prove that Night City is freer than ever be. The Badlands. If you think Night City is dangerous, just wait till you get to the Badlands. The areas bordering the city to the east and south are actually 8 different zones that vary in character and landscape. There's the trailer park of Red Peaks, the plains of Rocky Ridge and desert of Sierra Sonora stretching out to the east, where landfill emits a stench that's often blown all the way into the city. Saturated with chemicals and acid rain, nothing will ever grow again in this region of the Badlands. Anyone who has to cross this area does it quickly, and if they are smart, with an armed escort in case they run into wraiths, a gang made up of exiled nomads. We could compare them to vultures, though at least vultures have the decency to wait until their prey is dead. The south points a much less apocalyptic picture with Biotechnica's protein farms and the Jackson Plains power plant. A trip to the neighboring lake of Laguna Bend at sunset is the most picturesque view the Badlands has to offer. Just make sure you don't touch the water. There's a saying that everyone should visit the Badlands at least once in their life. Sounds like something the Wraiths would say. Padres Base. You can find Padre at the basketball court in the Glen. Local kids shoot hoops there by day, while by night slightly older residents exchange blows in the fistfights organized there. This is your typical Haywood block. Everyone knows Padre and he knows them. In fact, Padre is more than a fixer in this neighborhood. Residents come to him not only on the bed, but also ask for advice or even his mediation in local conflicts. Of course, not everyone likes Padre, but everyone does respect him, and in Haywood that means much more. Muammar El Capitan Reyes place. El Capitan has carved out a nice little place for himself by the Beltway in Rancho Coronado with a view onto the dam. It's a secluded place ideal for making deals that require discretion. If there's something you need to discuss with Capitan in person, he'll probably want to meet you there. Dino Dinovich's place. Dino's accepting visitors and is posting up gigs in his own bar, Electric Orgasm. He came up with that name himself, which tells you more about him than the bar. That said, the place has its charm. Wakako's Den. Wakako has an office in the back room of a pachinko parlor on Jig Street. By day the parlor's relatively quiet, with biz picking up at night, but Wakako's Den is always an old-school oasis of calm, refined elegance. Regina's Den. If you want to parlay with Regina in person, you'll have to head down to Kabuki in Watson. Even the corporate skyscraper where she's located is hard to miss. It's mostly surrounded by residential buildings, not to mention Lizzie's bar, the Club of the Mox. Regina conducts biz out of the top floor, which she has reserved all to herself. Dakota's place. You'll find Dakota in an auto repair shop in Rocky Ridge. In Night City, that choice of headquarters might seem strange, out in the middle of nowhere. The garage is nothing short of an oasis. This is where Dakota tugs the strands on her intricate web stretching over the Badlands. If you want to be part of her crew, sooner or later you'll have to pay Rocky Ridge a visit. The city and surrounding areas. Night City. The City of Dreams was founded in the 1990s by visionary industrialist Richard Knight. When the world of late 20th century plunged into chaos, Knight envisioned a modern metropolis free from crime, poverty and corruption. Corporate partners Arasaka, EVM and Petrochem helped him realize this vision, investing in the foundation of what would become the free city of Night City. The city would develop into a haven for young idealists and a beacon for others who sought to fulfill their own dreams. And although Richard Knight fell to assassins and many new generations seeking fame, fortune and freedom have suffered their own series of setbacks, the city's legendary status endures today. The Night City has it all, from the monumental skyscrapers of industry-leading megacorporations to the luxury villas of world-renowned stars, to the lawless neighborhoods where war is waged every day. You will stumble across mercenaries, gangs and famous rockers, but also junk food bumps and even cyberpsychos. You will stand in the shadows of colossal mega buildings and get lost in the maze of streets, alleys, and markets. You will make your dreams come true or die trying. Minefield. The minefield out in the Badlands is a legacy of wars long past. The mines were never cleared, and the field now serves as natural border protection. The only people who know how to cross it safely are smugglers. Wind farms. The wind farms in the Badlands, property of Night City, once played a major role in the city's power generation before gradually falling into disrepair over the years. Mordellini's yacht. A luxury yacht moored at the Gold Beach Street Marina. Interloading rumors abound over the parties held in Mordellini's vessel. Said only Night City's elite of the elite ever attends, but not a one of them has uttered a peep, and no uninvited guests have ever managed to step aboard. Just what happens at the yacht's orgies of legend remains set solidly in the realm of fantasy and conjecture. Empathy. If you're a mid-ranking corporal and want to get your freak on, then head straight to Empathy in downtown. This brain dance strip club run by Larry Fonghorn and Adam Ibrahimovic offers the city's most awe-inducing entertainment. But nothing that would gross out your colleagues. The dancers are chipped with the latest curl, their drinks pack a kick, and the air is saturated with music, lights, and desire. Shinto Shrine. Japantown isn't just restaurants with signs in kanji and nightclubs playing J-Les prop. It's a hub for Japanese culture, a home for those with strong connections to the land of the rising sun, both material and spiritual. Many visit this shrine to learn more about Japanese tradition or to simply take a break from the rat race of the Night City. Triple Extreme Gym. A former paint factory in Rancho Coronado, Triple Extreme Gym is now a fight ring belonging to the animals. Fighters clash in an enormous vat that was once used to mix paints. The post-industrial interior lends to the show a unique atmosphere and interesting acoustics. Night City Center for Psychiatric Health. In the edge of a rapid increase in cyberpsychosis cases, the psychiatric hospital Night City seems to offer an earnest solution to one of the city's most burning issues. The clinic boasts a wide range of treatments, from traditional drug therapies and psychotherapy to mind disassemblement and brain dance conditioning. The clinic also prides itself on the innovative Safe Space program, which completely isolates patients from the outside world. Some think that getting rid of visiting hours is an essential part of successful treatment. Others think that these so-called psychiatrists don't want to be caught around something they shouldn't. Ho-Oh. This Kabuki-based casino is run by the Tiger Claw. The ground floor is the only space accessible to customers, while the rest is occupied by gang operations. If you ever need to get up from blackjack gaming to stretch your legs, think twice before heading upstairs. N-Card. N-Card Night City Area Rapid Transit is a night core owned by a city public transportation system which includes both metro and streetcars. There are currently 6 lines connecting all the districts, although expansions to the network have been in the works for years. Each N-Card station has its own unique atmosphere and, as its passengers note, unique fragrance. N-Card can be dangerous at night and during rush hour if the gangs, mercs and regular criminals of the city see the stations and tunnels as a natural extension of Night City's streets. On the other hand, they say you don't really know the city until you've taken a ride on the N-Card. La Catrina, a Valentino-run funeral home, La Catrina is a completely legal enterprise in the eyes of both God and state, and the caskets are absolutely positively full of bodies of the deceased, not drugs and guns. You could go and see for yourself, although that would be a shocking display of disrespect. Locations. Clouds. One of the priciest and most technologically advanced dollhouses in Night City, Clouds offers you an experience tailored to your deepest desires. Desires you might not even be aware of. First you jack into the system, then your fantasies and preferences are scanned, and finally the data is automatically transferred to the most suitable doll who eagerly fulfills them. The doll is controlled by a chip, which means they aren't aware of what happens in the session and their memory is wiped every time. Dollhouses are frequented not only by people with your run-of-the-mill fetishes, but also those who are antisocial or creepingly shy. Protein farms. Not every night citizen knows, and few probably even think about it all, but mostly of the stuff they call meat actually comes from protein farms. No matter if it's beef, ramen or at the market in Kabuki, or some shish kebab in Westbrook, or a burger in Haywood, they all start on the farm. Most meat products are derived from mass-formed worms, which are ground into a meat-like substance known as SCOP. Although the SCOP acronym originally stood for single-celled organic protein, it has evolved into an umbrella term for many synthetic meat and meat-adjacent products. This SCOP-based product is then shipped off to be pumped full of the dyes and flavorings for a variety of products on the market. After all, it takes little work to beef up those bugs. Oil fields. Located to the north of Night City, for all intents and purposes, the oil fields should be part of the Badlands, desolate, barren and thoroughly uninhabitable for decades. The oil-salt land is as dead as it can be, and nothing is likely to change that. The decrepit barracks and rusting skeletal remains of oil drills leave a ghostly impression, especially at night when they are lit up by the flames of oil puddles. Villa Eurodyne. Located in the upscale Norfolk, Carrie Eurodyne's villa is a shining example of what money can buy you in Night City when you have more than you can spend. Carrie's estate is ultra-modern, designer-built, comfortably furnished, and eerily empty. No doubt there are rooms that there are Rocker's boy rebellious spirits on full display, a wall of vintage guitars or his famous portrait taken by Christina Lundmark, for example, but the rest feels barren, as if Carrie hasn't even explored it yet. If the Carrie Eurodyne of 2020s could have seen this place, he'd probably think, let's get wild and tear this place to pieces. The Carrie of 2077 invests in security vaults in the garden and practices yoga on the patio every morning. Atlantis. Just as it is difficult today to imagine the fabric of Night City without the afterlife, so it was in 2020s with Atlantis. Atlantis was the central hub of information dealing, merc work and professional favors. Those who still remember the club, which has long been closed, say the afterlife is a poor imitation stained by posers that doesn't hold a candle to the atmosphere of authenticity Atlantis once boasted. Of course, when people reach a certain age, they tend to make claims of that sort about the old days. But one claim that does contain a nugget of truth is that the Atlantis welcomed a more diverse and wilder crowd. Not only would you encounter mercenaries and fixers with established street cred, but you could rub elbows with con artists, swindlers, 15-minute celebs, long-forgotten legends, rockers, washed-out pop icons, off-the-clock cops, dream dealers, spies. Back in those days, there was no rep check to walk through that front door. Whether you walked back out under your own power was a different matter. Ebunike. The Ebunike is a cargo ship docked in Night City that's been awaiting renovation for the last 30 years. At this point, the scaffolding has more or less become a permanent fixture. The vessel was named after Mbola Ebunike, a former mayor of Night City. Today the name is associated with the entirety of the docks where it is located that fall under Maelstrom control. For many years it has served as one of the Atom Smasher's many hideouts. Fourth Wall. An established brain dance studio with years of industry experience, Fourth Wall owns a large recording complex in Japantown. The studio has become famous for its controversial documentaries and reality shows scroll using the latest braindance technologies. Laguna Bend. Laguna Bend's evolution has taken it from a quaint sleepy town to a suburb of Night City to a reservoir. Why? Because NC Dam Limited decided it wanted to build Surprise a dam and flooded Laguna Bend and its surroundings before the town's residents could mount any meaningful opposition to it. Water rushed into homes that some people only managed to evacuate on the day off. Given what the rest of the Badlands looks like, Laguna Bend is a welcome sight from the outside. Still, it's worth bear in mind that the water is highly toxic and will most likely remain so for the foreseeable future. Time Machine. The best music store in Night City, maybe even all of California. Apart from new releases and special deals, you can find real vintage gems procured by the owner. But the closest you'll get to those at first are through the catalog. If you prove yourself enough of a connoisseur, the store owners might give you her inventory for priceless items and maybe even let you the veritable music heaven that is the back room. It's no surprise that its location is mostly known by fans, but also artists and famous stars. Jig Street. Every city needs its red light district, does it not? Night City has a Jig Street, located in a section of Japantown where not only you can buy love by the hour, but also encounter suspect dealers offering exotic, rare and very illegal wares. Jig Street doesn't have a reputation of being safe. It's not uncommon to enter with your wallet and leave with a black eye and empty pockets, but in spite of its reputation, it's popular with corpos who like to get their game on before venturing deeper into the city's many attractions. Arasaka Industrial Park, a maintenance logistics facility in Night City belonging to Arasaka. It's not only one of the largest depots in town, but a highly specialized all-in-one engineering park and workshop. Ever seen an Atlas AV with an Arasaka logo on the armored hull? This is where such standard models arrive to be retrofitted with the deadly upgrades. It only takes a few so to simultaneously take off to wake up all of Oroyo. But for some time, the district's inhabitants haven't been moved and asleep. The tightly secured facility is disconcertingly silent. Maybe it has something to do with certain special transport. Nomad camps. Medical phenomenon is one of constant motion, but although their camps are temporary, they're always designed with function, order and comfort in mind. Setting up a new camp is a quick operation because everyone knows their responsibility, working together like parts in a well-oiled machine. As the nomad Santiago once said, whenever we make camp, for a short while we became farmers again. And the earlier a farmer finishes his work, the sooner he cracks open a beer. To those who don't buy into the propaganda, nomads are known as hospitable folk. Still, it's better to signal your peaceful intentions from afar, as their camps are well protected. Pacifica Serenity Bible Church, a simple brick-and-mortar place of worship in Pacifica, at first intended to connect to the hotel complex funded by the billionaire Rothman Castern. However, when the Unification War broke out, Castern's corporation pulled out its investments. As a result, the hotel was never completed, and the church survived only in its current severe form, starkly contrasting to the ubiquitous kitsch flavor of the surrounding area. Today, the church functions primarily as a community meeting place. Old Power Plant, formerly owned by Electric Corporation, yes, that's a real company, and Charter Hill, and abandoned in mysterious circumstances, leaving the surrounding empty buildings unattended. But nothing in cities is truly empty, especially in a metropolis like Night City. The power plant was quickly overrun by gangs that need a lot of space, solid walls and thick doors to make sure that whatever they're doing doesn't catch the attention of any passerby. Rocky Ridge. It was supposed to measure up to Rancho Coronado, cozy, practical, self-sufficient, offering a roof over the head for the families of every worker building the nearby highway. Rocky Ridge was sold to people as a paradise guaranteeing peace and quiet, but also just a stone's throw away from the big city and everything it had to offer. Unfortunately, it ended like most investments and in California. The construction became too expensive and Rocky Ridge was no longer economically viable. From one day to the next, the construction sites were deserted, contractors lost their jobs, and the houses of Rocky Ridge became vacant. Today the area is completely abandoned and almost entirely forgotten by Night City, perfect for looters and the occasional band of Ref and Shiv. I wonder. We might even need a second stream for that kind of reading. Maglev Tunnel. People who have never been to Night City might be getting N-Cart and the Maglev Tunnels confused. N-Cart is the city's public transport system, which includes the metro, while the tunnels are part of a still under the construction high-speed rail network. They also represent two distinct social groups. The crowded, stifling N-car trains lug the lower and middle classes round, while a ride on the maglev, once the lines are open of course, will be for only the highest-ranking corpos. The existing tunnel, which will one day connect Corpo Plaza to the east coast, is currently being renovated and expanded. Its opening will hail the grand return of the maglev network to Night City, following years of neglect when the old stations were either abandoned or taken over by city gangs. Grand Imperial Mall, GIM. Just as Pacifica was meant to be the crown jewel of Night City, so the Grand Imperial was hyped up to be the district's most luxurious mall. Located by the shore, the 6th-floor behemoth was meant to contain over 70 stores, service outlets and restaurants, a movie theater and a Ferris wheel and roller coaster outside. Even when construction was abandoned, the mall reeked of corporate vanity so much so that even the Woody Boys preferred to keep their distance after taking over this district. Old Foods Factory. This factory of the popular and US food and beverage giant specialized in producing protein slurries that were marketed as meat or near meat. This Night City branch, however, was shut down unexpectedly and quickly became overrun by members of the Maelstrom gang. It has since served as the gang's main hideout in the industrial Watson district. Lizzie's Bar. Once a third-rate brothel and sticky-eyed, the Lizzie's Bar is the bread and butter of the Moxes. The club boasts high-quality brand dances to use in the comfort of specialized booths. You can also see a live show, have a drink and show off your move on the dance floor. In 1967, Lizzie's Bar was the scene of a joy to a horrific murder, sparkling riots among sex workers, eventually resulting in the gang known as the Mox. Konpeki Plaza. Konpeki Plaza is Night City's most exclusive hotel, an architectural marvel created solely for the elite. This is where global financiers stay for business trips, where nobody bats an eyelid at the sight of two rival corporals having a drink or a well-known politician going up to their room with a Brandon star. Every square inch caters to luxury taste and comes packed with the most decadent of entertainment, with just a hint of mystery to keep things exciting. These mega building. Besides the 2,000 apartments identical to these, this Watson mega block also features luxury penthouses on its upper floor. Further down you can find various service points, stores, market stalls, a gym, even a shooting range. To a certain extent, mega buildings are truly self-sufficient, self-contained ecosystems. Many of their long-term residents, especially netrunners, haven't stepped outside in years. Afterlife. As the old saying goes, there is only one path in Night City worth walking, the one that leads to the afterlife. Once you make it here, sooner or later, everything else opens up to you. The Afterlife is an iconic bar where the who's who of mercs and first-rate fixers gather to kick back or conduct biz. It's also a major nerve center for the Night City. This is a place where the biggest deals get cut and the job rewards have the most zeros tacked on. Stop here to spot big names such as Rogue, Dexter DeShawn, and that guy who drank with Morgan Blackhand once. Speaking of, it is said Blackhand's ghost still wanders the bar, switching off the safeties of customers' holstered guns. Of course, it's probably best to check that out for yourself. That is, provided you've earned enough street cred to get you through the front door. El Coyote Cojo. A dive in Haywood run by the universally liked Mama Rails. Its clientele mainly consists of locals, but anyone who can appreciate good food and has the means to pay for it is greeted with open arms. This is our tutorials. Well, that's good. Alright, I believe these are... Whoa. World. Valentinos, loud vests, flashy gold cyberware, heavy jewelry, tattoos of Santa Muerte and Jesus Malaverde. You'd have a hard time mistaking a Valentino when you saw one. Inspired by Chicano culture, their expressive style makes them seem like something straight out of a Mexican barrio. But if you look closer, you'll see anyone can join the gang, no matter their background or ethnicity. The Valentinos are strictly territorial, operating in Haywood. They are tied to the local community by nearly familial bonds of friendship and by biz. The Valentinos run completely legal businesses like restaurants, nightclubs and auto shops, but all are front for their other dirtier biz of money laundering, smuggling stolen vehicles or guns, human trafficking and gang warfare. The Valentino's friendship is priceless and will follow you to the grave, so you might want to think twice before riding with them. North California. Since the end of the Unification War, North California has struggled to lead the Free States in their opposition to the USA's agenda for reintegration. As a leader in the world of finance and biotech, NorCal maintains one of the largest armed forces of any free state. However, even their substantial might is too little to challenge the federal government in open conflict. Instead, NorCal leadership stations its forces along the border, with the highest concentrations of troops being placed on the border with South California, a state which has declared its allegiance to the NUSA government. Please. Oh, it's not there. Excuse me for that. Combat Cab. In a city overrun with gang violence, shootings and cyber-psycho attacks, security is at a premium. Anyone traveling to, or more likely passing through, the city's sketchiest neighborhoods always dial the number for Combat Cab. As detailed on their site, Combat Cab's fleet of heavily armored vehicles can protect passengers from all weapons across the caliber spectrum. The fact that they are only transportation company operating within the combat zone would speak for itself. In recent years, the Delaware cab service has risen to claim the top market share in the heart of the city, but public data terms financed by Combat Cab can still be found. The Arasaka headquarters bombing. The only undisputable fact in this story is the date 20th August 2023, the day a nuclear explosion obliterated Corporal Plaza in a large chunk of Night City, city center. The rest is pure speculation, gossip, lies and conspiracy theories, all the way from the number of casualties to those responsible for the attack. The most famous version, widely disseminated by corporate PR machines and trickled down through the media, tells of an unidentified terrorist group that was responsible for an armed assault on the Arasaka Tower, followed by the explosion. But does anyone really take corporate press releases seriously anymore? Take some of the more intriguing theories circulating on the streets today, that it was an inside job in an attempt to escalate the conflict between Arasaka and Militex, followed by an elaborately orchestrated cover-up, or the results of a failed experiment that spiraled out of control in a secret lab somewhere under Arasaka Tower. How much of it is true? Most likely we'll never find out, and even if we did, it wouldn't bring back the victims of the tragedy. Unification War, Metal Wars. The Unification War, sometimes called the Metal Wars, was a series of armed conflicts spanning from January 2069 to June 2070. It was fought between the NUSA, the United States of America, and the Free States, supported by Militech and Arasaka respectively. The conflict's name differs depending on who you ask. NUSA Militech supporters call it the Unification Wars, whereas Arasaka and certain free states have preferred the name Metal Wars. North California, NorCal, stood on the side of the Free States, while South California, SoCal, stood by the NUSA. Note, Night City remained independent throughout the conflict. The war was finally concluded by a ceasefire signed in Arvin, SoCal. However, both sides declared victory for themselves and found the terms of peace largely unsatisfactory, causing many to believe the outbreak of another armed conflict is only a matter of time. The Free States were obliged to forfeit their independent status, albeit only on paper, as they would remain autonomous in practice. Ultimately, the NUSA chose to accept the conditions of this peaceful resolution rather than risk escalation of the war across the globe, resulting in potentially millions of casualties and, more importantly, a deep recession. Arasaka and Militech suffered heavier losses than any other corporation or government body involved in the conflict. Both megacorps lost billions of dollars in the military equipment, and because Militech had their own boots on the ground, they additionally lost the lives of thousands of soldiers whom they staunchly refer to as independent consultants. Cyberpsychosis. As the trauma team medical docs define it, cyberpsychosis is a collective term for all psychotic and anxiety-related personality disorders caused by hardware implanted in the body and any and all behavioral mods, including software. We all know someone whose neighbor took the chrome a little too far, then left home one day with a gun and opened fire in the crowd. Or maybe said neighbor didn't want to cough up the crowd for a good ripper, so they started suffering from nightmares and hearing voices once the hormone blockers were in, then lost it. Some call cyberpsychosis a disease brought by social inequality. Others say it's the price to be paid for the unhealthy love of technology. Still others think it's complete bullshit. That is, until it's their neighbor shooting out the hood and their fingers dialing MaxTag. Revere Courier Services. Revere Courier Services is a shipping corporation that operates on all continents, providing transport services for both commercial and individual clients. Their fleet consists of armored trucks, freighters, and aircraft capable of carrying high-value cargo. But the RCS pledge states that all cargo is sacred, whether it's luxury limousine destined for an African billionaire's estate or care package of moon cheese and banana butter bears. A grandmother from Vista del Rey sent her grandson for Valentine's Day. While the limo will be transported on a massive freighter and the box of treats by scooter delivery, they both have one thing in common: they'll arrive in the right hands. Of course, RCS cannot give their full guarantee, as the shipping industry is a major target of piracy and theft. Still, in such cases, the company offers full compensation for stolen goods. Some of RCS' largest shipping vessels are protected by outsourced security, often mercenaries, whose presence is often deterrent enough for would-be aggressors. A vital service offered by RCS is physical data transfers for data that's too precious to upload to the net. Data couriers number among the most experienced professionals, and damage or loss of shipment almost never occurs. Wildlife in Night City. Animals are a rare sight in Night City, but it wasn't always like that. Once upon a time you could hear the cries of seagulls at the marina, swat your way through swarms of flies in the bazaar, and best of all, step in a dog shed at the park. Everything changed in the second half of the 21st century, when the city was brought to a standstill by animal-borne diseases. In 2051, 7,000 victims, 2059, 10,000, 2061, 12,000. The panicked city council decided to eliminate all birds in the city, while exterminators started using military equipment for traps and fumigation. Personal pets could be kept, though owners were saddled with huge tax bills. Glitter. Glitter is a highly addictive psychedelic drug and recent arrival on Night City streets. The new substance quickly drew Night City's full attention. First, it's truly strong stuff, even for the booster and brain dance towards the residents of Night City. Second, glitter is illegal, immediately giving it the irresistible aura of forbidden fruit. Finally, glitter kills. One overdose or weak nervous system, glitter will have those neurons firing white hot, hence the name perhaps. Death is inevitable. Cytech is a technology and biotechnology company specializing in implants and cybernetic prostheses. Cytech is known for its high-quality products, all patented solutions developed in-house in the corporation's labs. Kendachi. The roots of the Kendachi Corporation, or rather Kenshiri Adachi Armaments, harken back to the 16th century, when the Japanese Kenshiro family established themselves as a blacksmithing clan. The corporation took on its final form in the 21st century after merging with the Adachi company. These days, Kandachi is known for its reliable mono-weapons made in factories and low Earth orbit. In fact, such products have become synonymous with the brand. Utterly terrifying and skilled solo hands. These must-have blades are responsible for the Japanese corporation's success. Current CEO Taisho Yakai is known for his keen business sense, deep knowledge of kendo and short fuse. Occasionally he's been known to deal with his enemies himself, using his own corporation's indispensable mono-weapons of course. You'd be hard-pressed to find a better endorsement. Netwatch was founded as a European net security company, but its success quickly transformed it into an international agency sponsored by corporations. The Net Police specializes in securing data fortresses, pursuing unlicensed AIs, neutralizing hacks, removing software threats, and apprehending troublesome netrunners. Netwatch also maintains the Backwall, a barrier of ice that guards against rogue, post-crash AI. Corporate propaganda likes to portray Netwatch agents as defenders of humanity, without which the net would have long ago collapsed. The truth is that it's not so hard to become a public enemy in the eyes of Netwatch. Go ahead, jack in, and read the security protocols sent to every user on the net. The moment you step over the line, some eager rookie in the nearest Netwatch division will have a file on you in no time. Voodoo Boys. Mysterious gang of netrunners based in Pacifica. The Voodoo Boys uphold the district's independence and act as the leaders of the area predominantly Haitian community. Ominous rumors circulate about the gang. Those who know the most about them are netrunners from Night City. At the very least, they can recognize the Voodoo Boys virus when it hits their system, and Netwatch agents who for years have been trying to eliminate them, unsuccessfully of course. Techies. You see a few odd nuts and bolts or scrap of metal, a good techie sees a work of art. You press a button on the device, just works, and the device just works. A techie knows why and how to make it work better. Techies are the sort to cut their teeth on tech by taking it apart and putting it back together. They open an electric panel and not only know how to shut off the power, but also send an elevator to a specific floor, or connect alarm system, or control a military bot from a safe, remote distance. They are also needed wherever hardware meets soft, braindance editing being one common example. Techies know not enough to have all the ones and zeros in the right place. You need something to feed the code into. They can calibrate implants with ease, understand the pages and pages' minute specifications, and use this knowledge to their advantage. Most people think they don't need a techie, that their once a month Reaper Dog tune-ups are more than enough. Then they've got their back against a wall, bombs are exploding next door, and pop, something breaks, suddenly a techie seems handy indeed. Rocker Boy. A class of 21st century rebels who turned their music into a weapon and aimed it at corporations and the power that be. They're unruly artists, street heroes, charismatic frontmen firing up thousands of fans at concerts that usually end up in riots. Their uncompromising attitude, politically radical lyrics, and performances has granted them their own sociological status. Their fingers are as dexterous on the frets as they are on their triggers when words and music aren't enough to get their message across. Johnny Silverhand set the bar for rocker boys, and not much has changed 50 years after his mysterious death. Rocker boys are still screaming their throats bloody about oppression by the system, though there are some likely, like Kerry Urdine, who are accused of selling out and abandoning punk rock disobedience for money and fame. Even if that were true, the world still needs its musical revolutionaries, and they're still among us. Maybe they're just starting to compose their first fuck you songs, or maybe they're about to stumble out of CD dive and throw down the gauntlet to the corpus and the badges. But when they finally start making noise, that's when people will start to listen. Petrochem. Our plane is moving forward thanks to Petrochem. That commercial slogan is only half exaggerated. Thanks to its partnership with bioengineering corporations Biotechnica, Petrochem converts genetically modified wheat grown in Biotechnica's millions of acres of farmland into the biofuel of the future, CHOOH2. In addition, it also has limited rights to grow its own modified grain. That means nobody can entirely avoid petrochem, though while their influence and resources shouldn't be overstated, their competitors are fully aware of petrochem's economic and political power. If the megacorporation was able to monopolize fuel production in the country, petrochem would call the shots on everything. That's why the corp doesn't skimp on its security, hiring the best industry counter-intel specialists and always stationed on high alert. An attack could come from anywhere and any time. Aldecaldos, one of the oldest nomad nations founded by Juan Aldecaldo, who fought a ruthless war at the tail end of the 1990s against the gangs ruling LA. He formed the Neighborhood Watch, which numbered 5,000 people by the time it left the city and was known for its emphasis on family values, in whose name Juan launched his uprising against ineffective police and corrupt media. The Aldecaldos currently consist of a few dozen families spread out around America that are constantly on the move. Solo. Soldier, corporate bodyguard, cyber ninja, they can call themselves whatever they want, but to the rest of the world they are simply solos. Solos are mercenaries who specialize in combat skills, whether on the battlefield or as private hustle, hired muscle. They will fight for corporate or government armies, private security companies, criminal organizations, even the police, but most prefer to earn their eddies on shorter-term jobs. We live in an increasingly trying time, so solos have no shortage of opportunities. It's guaranteed work in a still growing industry, but it does have its dark side. Every professional solo needs to keep up with trends in new tech and invest in better equipment, weapons, cyberware, gadgets and supplements which will ensure they stay smarter, faster and stronger than their opponents. But they must also remain vigilant, as their push for progress can cross a line for which there is no return. According to official MaxTech data, solos are the largest demographic in confirmed cyberpsychosis cases. Mikoshi. Mikoshi is one of the most heavily guarded data fortresses in Arasaka and holds the digitized minds of clients from the Secure Your Soul program. For security reasons, information about the program is still classified by the corporation, and the physical location of Mikoshi is a closely guarded secret, together with a smattering of access points nested in cyberspace. Among netrunners who have breached Arasaka's, there's a widespread belief that Mikoshi is a soul prison for the digitized victims of Soul Killer. Rumors has it that Arasaka uses the souls of captured netrunners to use them as data collectors, but so far no one has been able to verify this. The Black Wall. When attempts to rebuild the net after Raish Bertmo's attack turned out to be futile and feral post-crash AIs began to threaten corporations, often the same ones who created them, Netwatch decided to cut its losses. Dozens of the agency's finest netrunners created what came to be known as the Black Wall, a protective barrier keeping the fragmented, unstable but still usable net safe from the rogue AIs roaming the ruins of cyberspace. The Black Wall came without warning, out of nowhere, which meant that any netrunner left stranded on the other side had no way to safely jack out nor survive indefinitely in cyberspace. As a result, Netwatch managed to kill two birds with one stone, neutralizing the threat of AIs and getting rid of troublesome hackers. The price of the Black Wall meant abandoning major technological advancements that came with self-aware AIs. Nevertheless, Netwatch made up for it by creating new tools that would grant them even greater access over the net. For years, corporate propaganda glorified Netwatch agents as defenders of the people, and through the Black Wall, the humanity's last line of defense. But mysterious raids in cyberspace that agents are not always able to cover up prove that the wall maybe isn't as strong as we think it is. Maglev Network. The Night City Magnetic Levitation Rail System, Maglev, was one of the largest infrastructure projects of the continent. Its construction was supervised by the US Army Corps of Engineers and completed in 2008. after which ownership was transferred to Planetran Inc. Maglev trains cruise at high speeds via tunnels and on the surface thanks to the advent of electrodynamic suspension technology, allowing fast and comfortable travel from Night City to the other cities, including Kansas City, St. Louis, Atlanta and Washington DC. Unfortunately, this new era of transportation didn't last long. The social unrest and armed conflicts of this fourth corporate war brought with it an economic crisis that soon crippled the entire system. Currently in operation, the abandoned maglev tunnels are used by the homeless and various gangs. Recently, however, Night Corps has begun to commence repairs with the aim of revitalizing the maglev system and is currently drilling a new tunnel beneath the foundations of Night City. Cyberspace. After the data crash on the fragments of the worldwide net were able to be salvaged, an archipelago of algorithms and code separated by treacherous abysses of nothingness. Just because you know how to surf the net doesn't mean you're an experienced diver in the fluctuating streams of pure fluid data beaming directly into your brain. In order to enter cyberspace, you need a synth-tech interface, external support especially for the first time, a secure BBS and a lot of luck. Netrunners who can navigate the deep net are mostly interested in accessing corporate data fortresses. Others try to gain entry into older, defunct systems or even break through the black wall. Animals. Unlike other Night City gangs, the animals don't have a defined territory. You can find them almost anywhere. But, you know, it's not like people go out looking for them. The animals aren't a centralized gang. They're divided into smaller groups led by independent alphas, males or females. The concrete jungle for the animals is not just a pretentious metaphor. From their hormone-pumping, beast-inducing implants to their love of street combat, the animals are obsessed with the wild side of human nature. Their physical strength and proficiency in various martial arts and their sheer size alone make animals the ideal security guards and bouncers for clubs and bars. Besides that, the animals are known for their illegal brawls, hijacking transports, and their addiction to juice, their very own homemade hormone cocktail. So much to read. Well, we've got only world, weapons, and vehicle sections. The vehicles is by far the largest of these. Illegal brain dance. Illegal brain dances, or XBDs, appeared on the black market almost as soon as brain dance recording technology became publicly available. Rare fetishes, violence, sadomasochistic fantasies, and even death are the most common motives in XBDs. These brain dances are scrolled in secret, usually by force, and are rarely edited. Reliving such recordings can cause nausea, epileptic seizures, or, in extreme cases, even death. XBDs have their own regular group of viewers. Demand for the scrolls remains as high as ever, meaning new producers are continually arriving on the scene. Some have even managed to form their own well-known brands and continue to push the limits of what's possible, albeit morally reprehensible. Oops, Tiger Claws. Night City is a melting pot of cultures and ethnicities, though when it comes to its Asian demographic, the Chinese and Japanese influence is unmistakable, as are the Tiger Claws. As a gang, the Tiger Claws are well organized, efficient and savvy, but also unpredictable. Their business decisions are purely rational, but when it comes to their enemies or disloyal gang member, their methods can be shocking. The Tiger Claws mainly operate out of Japantown, Little China, Kabuki and Charter Hill. Their main source of income are nightclubs, casinos and brain dance bars. Night citizens love to have a good time, no other gang knows how to capitalize on that better than the Tigers. Doll Chip. Originally created in a military lab, the Doll Chip found its true calling in the entertainment industry, specifically the sex industry. It comprised of three main functions: importing data from systems, steering the doll's behavior in session, and wiping the doll's memory after each and every session. The last function has turned out to be very attractive to applicants looking to work in doll houses. Clients are also on board Adults are completely unaware of what happens to them during the session, giving clients absolute freedom and discretion. It's a win-win, right? Right, I guess the last article for tonight. Wait, the first and new Nomad codes elaborate the various reasons you might be expelled from your family, including share with others in your clan, or do not keep for yourself that which may help another in your clan. Reading those documents today, it's hard to fight the feeling that were written in different, happier times. These days, nomads are more often expelled from their families for murdering or raping a fellow family member, human trafficking, poisoning the water supply, or betrayal of the clan. And we have a word for those nomads, the Raffen ship. Once ousted, most Raffens still maintain their nomadic lifestyles. They form larger groups on the road, but nobody would call these groups family, not even the jest. The Raffen ship prowl the Badlands, ambushing unsuspecting travelers, or for convoys, or even, and with particular relish, other nomad camps. A gang of Raffen ship even formed outside Night City gates, the raids. They're well organized, effective, and willing to do anything after all. Like all Raffens, they've got nothing left to lose. Right, I thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed as much as I did. I think it's high time for me to do my today's duties. So we'll be about raiding someone. Mayor's Yarn Therapy is streaming Fall Guys. Alright, let's raid out to her. I have some videos to attend to, so thank you again for watching. Hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. I wish you good night, good dreams, and let's raid out to Mayor's Yarn Therapy. Please give her some love, and I'll be going soon. See you around, everyone. Bye!